Hello? Hello everyone. Today we will continue to look at the RedHat System Administrator Certification Question Bank, the explanation. Next, we have our second question. For the first question, we configured the hostname and IP. Be sure to check carefully and make sure there are no issues before proceeding to the next step. In this case, many questions in our entire question bank are interconnected. If you make a mistake in the earlier questions, the later questions will also be affected. Therefore, you must carefully complete and check each question without any omissions. Now, let's look at the second question. The second question is about configuring our default storage repository. Or it can also be called a software repository. What needs attention here is the IP address must be configured. Yes, if you get the IP wrong in this question, you won't be able to connect. This question can actually verify whether the previous question was correct. So first, let's take a look. This question mainly involves configuring our software repository, which is also known as configuring the so-called subagi source. So how do we configure it here? Since we cannot connect to the internet, when we configure the yum source, it is actually a local yum source. Don't be misled by the fact that it clearly states here HTTP protocol. Right? It seems like a website, doesn't it? These two, but actually they are not. These two are just part of our environment. A website within a virtual machine, not an external website. So it is considered a local repository. Here, the first thing everyone needs to pay attention to is that when configuring this repository, you need to be careful. What must you do? You must be meticulous, and more meticulous. Do not leave any word misspelled. Of course you can copy this part, but you can only copy this portion from our question. In this section, the question will tell you, these two links are definitely included in the question, and you can copy them. This is allowed to be copied. Aside from that, there is nothing else. Please pay attention here, apart from the question, and the two links, the rest of the content needs to be handwritten by you. So, be careful here. Make sure not to make any mistakes. Making a mistake here will also affect the following questions. If later on, during the exam, you encounter a question that reports an error, you need to check not only the configuration of this question, but also the configuration of the previous and related questions. This question is related to others. For example, if you configured the IP incorrectly in the previous question, you definitely won't be able to connect here. And if the gateway is configured incorrectly, you definitely won't be able to connect here. So here, first let's take a look. If we want to configure our sample window library first, here it provides two links. What does that mean? Actually, we have two yum repositories here. It's not just one yum repository. Actually, from our perspective, starting from RedHat version 8. It has already become a dual repository, meaning two repositories running in parallel, but now it's version 9, and it's still two repositories. Previously, it was basically one repository, but now it has become two, so here we need to configure two repositories. Regarding the repositories, what needs attention is everyone must pay attention to the requirements of the question. If the question only provides you with a link, then you should write the link in its entirety. To avoid mistakes, you can copy it. That's fine. It's not embarrassing. It's all about passing, right? Copying is not embarrassing, as long as you write it correctly. The most important thing is, if in the question, there is a requirement for what the repository should be named, you also need to follow the requirements. If there aren't any, then you can do as you please. Mainly pay attention to these 2 points. Also, if the question requires you to configure the verification key, you also need to configure it, as required. If not, then we default to not writing this verification key. Okay, these are the points we need to pay attention to. For each question, during the subsequent explanations, I will also point out the areas to watch out for, where mistakes are likely, and what to do if errors occur. Yeah, if this question results in an error, it usually comes down to two aspects. One aspect is that there is an issue with your file content. If there's an issue with the file content, you need to carefully check your file content. The configuration of the two repositories is completely identical, so you can compare them to see which word is written incorrectly or inconsistently. If you find any, just make the necessary corrections. If both are written incorrectly, then you'll need to spend some time looking for the errors, right? Another type of error is from the previous question. IP, gateway. DNS, these also need to be checked. Alright, these are the key points we need to pay attention to. Now moving on, starting this task isn't actually very complicated. The procedure? It's actually not much different from the first task, because you only need to set up one repository. The second repository can be directly copied. Alright, let's start the operation. We will again connect to our virtual machine. First, because in the last lesson we set up an IP. Right? There's also a host name. Here we have an IP and a host name. The IP from the last lesson was 172.550.1, and the host name is Note 1. These two. You can see that Node 1 cannot be connected because our host name isn't actually that short. It's a long host name, and Node 1 is just an abbreviation. So here, let's use the IP. I'll use the IP. The IP from the last lesson was 250.100. Here, please note that the IP was written incorrectly because it's common to write 168 or even 25. Okay, once connected. It indicates that your first IP is definitely matched. Being able to connect means it's definitely matched. Then next we will edit our file. During the editing process here, anything that can be auto-completed should be completed by everyone themselves. There's no need to manually write out everything. You can see here that this is a default one. Repository, and here we need to manually write one ourselves. Also, note that if the question requires a file name, I generally don't require it, it's rarely required. This name is generally not required, but if it is, remember to specify it yourself. Make sure to write it correctly, okay? Alright, once we get in, we can take a look. If the question doesn't specify the two names, you can follow what's written in the question bank. If it does specify, follow the requirements in the question. Here, the first thing is to write the name. The second one is the link. For the link, if you want to write it by hand, you can. Afraid of making a mistake? Just copy it. When writing this, pay attention to this, okay? The letter L and the number 1. And there's the letter I. Make sure to distinguish it. Don't get it wrong. If you do, it can be very critical. Very critical. They actually look different. Just take a close look. That's all you need to do. Then I'll write down this path here. This is the first one. Then enable it. The repository, enable the repository. As for verifying the key, we don't need it. We don't need it. 0 or no is fine. Here, yes or 1 is also fine. After writing 1, what next? You can directly copy it. Just modify it. This way it's simpler and saves time. You don't have to write it again, as many parts are the same. Of course, the name absolutely cannot be repeated. This is a very important point. Here, you only need to change the last link, so copying is the fastest way. Of course, if you copy directly from the question, it will be faster than what I'm doing. Now we save it. If there is an error, it's a good thing. Having an error is a good thing. Here, you can actually just install any software. Installation successful. This means the configuration is fine. If it fails, check it. Okay? Good. The progress bar is already running. What does this mean? It means there's likely no problem. And then, this is our second question. A successful installation means your second question is 100% correct. Okay, if you need a complete question bank, you can leave a comment below to purchase the most stable question bank at the best price. That's it for today, everyone. Bye-bye.